Magnetic Island is Townsville's refuge. It holds up the horizon between Capes Cleveland and Paloranda. Its rocky shorelines have lured travellers to its bays for over a century. The heart of our fascination with Maggie is its environment.
Granite structures and hoop pine, which rumble through gullies and cover its hills, are products of millions of years of geological shifts. Together, they are weathered reminders of our species' own relatively recent evolutionary arrival, forcing us, I think, to consider our own place within a different kind of time frame. However, the island's origin does hold a human story. Just over 7,500 years ago, Magnetic Island, or Yunbanen, came to life. When the Earth's vast ice sheets began to melt, increasing the ocean levels, Yunbanen became separated from the mainland. The ancestors of the Walgarukabar people, the island's traditional custodians who never ceded sovereignty and gained native title in 2012, lived through this change and captured it through the story of the serpent Garble. Their familiarity with Yunbanen proved an important source of produce for the earliest European settlers. Water was scarce, and the migrants who were camped at the island had to either barter with the Walgarukabar people or hunt and scavenge for food themselves. The island's peculiar landscape captured the imagination of settlers almost from their first encounter. The island's large granite boulders were an easy scapegoat for Cook, whose compass went awry as he sailed past Cape Cleveland. Consequently, he incorrectly labelled the island magnetical. Imagery of the boulders continued to figure prominently in subsequent journals of exploration. For Townsville's early settlers, Maggie was a beacon, a quarantine station, an agricultural outpost, and a recreational playground. Townsvillians were quick to begin utilising it as a place of leisure and as a holiday retreat. Holiday houses were initially erected in Picnic Bay, and private launches ferried people to and from the mainland. These holiday retreats and health resorts were thriving enterprises that provided dinner, board, and dance halls. As with all early 20th century reef tourism, proprietors were challenged to offer comfort and accommodate expectations of an excursion to a tropical island. Promotional pamphlets from the early 20th century listed Maggie's attractions as bathing, boating, fishing, scaling the pine-clad headlands, hunting wild goats, and deep-sea fishing. By the 1920s, Maggie's popularity increased by such a rate that the local harbour board was forced to begin managing the development of tourism infrastructure. Simultaneously, efforts were directed towards shaping Maggie's appealing environment. Following a single shark attack in 1929 in Alma Bay, 3 shark-proof fences were erected in the 3 most popular bays, Picnic, Alma, and Horseshoe. While those enclosures were later destroyed by cyclones, other features have remained and thrived. Earlier, in 1925, when native bird conservation was active in Australia, Maggie became a native bird sanctuary. Its contemporary population of Australian bush-stone curlews, among other birdlife, adds an important thread to the island's contemporary environmental tapestry. Additionally, in 1931, Maggie residents convinced the Department of Agriculture to introduce koalas to the island. That initial population of 17 koalas has grown to between 650 to 950 animals, which are now the major feature of Maggie's tourism. After World War II, greater awareness of the consequences of development on Maggie's environment emerged. The expansion of Townsville's port, particularly channel dredging, had a visible effect on Maggie's fringing reefs. The damage was particularly acute in Jeffrey Bay, which experienced noticeable large-scale coral loss caused by dredge spoil. Maggie residents had always expressed a care for their environment, but in the wake of visible damage to their shorelines, the islanders' concerns tipped into a more community-centered activism. This was only exacerbated in the 1980s and 90s by a disastrous marina development in Nellie Bay, which remained an eyesore for over a decade. Today's residents continue to depend on tourism. However, they are sensitive to development initiatives which threaten its environmental aesthetics. They are perhaps justified. The Nellie Bay incident is hard to forget, and memory has a powerful way of shaping contemporary actions. But, like the rest of the Barrier Reef, the island has succumbed to the impacts of climate change. National and marine park managers are unable to defend the island's surrounding reefs from coral bleaching or the port's continued development. Nonetheless, scientists are engaged in locating place-based possibilities to assist the island's reef's capacity to adapt to a changing climate. Yet, even these interventions have been met with some community criticism. Like the past, the island's future will rely on community accord to locate initiatives to keep the island livable. To do so, however, the island and its people will have to contend with a more volatile and complex global environment and community.